Hello everybody, today I'm going to talk to you about oiling your valves. Some of my pupils have asked me to record a little video so that when they're at home and their valves are sticky and they need to oil them, they don't panic because they don't know how to do it. So here we go, got my trumpet here today. Now we really want your valves to be working very efficiently like mine. They're not sticking at all. If yours are sticky, then it probably means you need to add a little bit of valve oil. I recommend that you only do this one valve at a time. If you take them out and then accidentally put them back into the wrong slots, then your instrument isn't going to work because the holes inside the valve won't line up correctly in the instrument and the air won't be able to pass through. So let's go ahead and look at the first valve here. I'm going to unscrew the valve cap at the top, like this. And when I pull out the valve, you can see, I'm going to pull this all the way out so that you can see it's made of two parts. Okay, so we've got the brass part at the top, that's where the spring is located here. And then we've got the silver part at the bottom, which has the holes that the air flows through. So, as I said, I recommend you only do this one valve at a time. And you can sit the valve just inside your instrument like this. And then we're going to take our valve oil. Need to take the lid off. This might have a childproof cap on, so if necessary, do get help from a grown-up. Hopefully you can see this. I'm using a Champion valve oil. There are lots of different types of valve oil available. Does it make any difference which one you use? For the most part, probably not. As long as it's working well enough for you, I wouldn't really worry too much about what brand it is. As long as it is designed to be used for a brass instrument, this one you can use on any valve, on any brass instrument. So trumpets, cornets, tenor horns, French horns, baritones, euphoniums, tubas, any of those you can use this valve oil for. So we're going to go ahead and work on the first valve here. You don't need to use very much valve oil at all, just a couple of drops. I'm going to do 1, 2 drops on this side. I'm going to turn the trumpet over and do 1, 2 drops on the other side. Now that is all that you should need. And then what we're going to do is wiggle that valve up and down and around just a few times. And what that does is it spreads the oil nice and evenly over the part of the valve which moves. Now you'll notice that I only put drops of oil onto the silver part of the valve where the holes are, none up here on the brass part with the spring. That bit doesn't connect to the valve pipe, so you don't need any oil up here at all, only on the silver part. Okay, so we're going to pop that back down now, and in order to, there's only one way that it will fit correctly back into the valve case. In order to find that position, you just spin the valve until you hear a little click. There we go. That feels like it's slotted in. So now there's one final test we can do, and that is just to blow air through the instrument to make sure that all the pipes inside the trumpet are lining up with those holes that we have in the valve. So I don't even have a mouthpiece here, you don't need one, just air is fine. Oh no! I can't blow any air through my trumpet, and if I put a mouthpiece in, I can't blow anything through there at all. So what's happened is that this valve has clicked into place, but it's not clicked into the right place. So I'm going to lift it and twist it again. Okay, now let's try it again. Success. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten up that valve cap at the top there. Okay. That's moving really freely. Great. Then you can go ahead and repeat the same process with the second and the third valves. Unscrew the valve cap, lift, 2 drops of oil on that side, 2 drops of oil on that side. Distribute the oil. Oh, that one's back to front as well. Hooray! That one's working. Tighten that back up. And the last one is, yep. 1, 2. 1, 2. And that one's gone straight in, which is nice. So you now should have 3 valves which are working very well indeed. A couple of other points. Put your lid back on your valve hole because you don't want to spill it everywhere. There are holes on the bottom of the valve casing. I have seen people squirt valve hole into here and wiggle their valves this way. If you're in a real tight fix, it might work, but it's not a very good idea because you can't distribute the valve oil evenly, and also you do get kind of dust and dirt that collects at the bottom of these valve caps just from your normal kind of playing. And then if you put valve oil in this way, you are likely to take some of that dirt back into your trumpet, which is obviously going to impact the way that your valves are working. So try not to do that. The other thing is if you put too much valve oil on here, then you might find that when you pick up your trumpet, valve oil drips out the bottom. So it might be useful, especially the first few times you do this and you're still getting used to it, to have a cloth or a piece of kitchen towel or a tea towel or something like that, just in case you end up with a little bit too much oil and it starts dripping out the bottom. But really 2 or 3 drops of oil should do the job nicely. Last thing to note is not to put anything other than valve oil on your valves. So you can get different types of lubrication for brass instruments. You can get slide cream and grease. You can use those for your slides. I'll do a separate video on those, but definitely only valve oil for your valves and only slide cream or grease for your slides. Last final thought. If you have oiled your valves and they're still sticking, then there are 2 other things that I would suggest. The first is that it might be worth giving your instrument a bath. Again, I will do a separate video on that just to show you how to clean your instrument properly, take good care of it. But if you've oiled the valves and they're still not working as you want them to, it could be a bit of a build-up of gunk in your instrument which needs cleaning out, or it could be that you've used a different oil this time on top of another oil the previous time and the 2 aren't mixing well, in which case you need to clean out the old oil and put in fresh oil. So that's one thing to try. And the other thing that I've seen happening, particularly with younger players, perhaps with smaller hands, is that if you press sideways on your valves, you can create a situation where the valves stick down because you're not applying direct up and down pressure. So if you've oiled your valves, you've cleaned your instrument, it's still all working properly, you've tried different valve oils and nothing is fixing them, try making sure that your fingertips are right on top of the valve caps rather than applying sideways pressure when you push the valves down. Make sure that your fingertips are right on top and you're pushing straight up and down. I have seen that that fixes a lot of valve problems. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments box below and I'll do my best to answer. Yeah, take good care of your instruments.